Hi again guys, and welcome to another Team HSG collaboration video. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, this is a very simple system where those who decide to become a part of the team on the channel and support my work on Patreon can work with me every month to craft their own custom videos in pretty much any racing game that they'd like to do. On this occasion, we have, of course, Ness once again in Gran Turismo 2, so if you're curious about working with me on the channel and supporting my work, of course, click the link down below and you'll be able to see all of the different perks that you can get. But for now, that's it for the spiel, and over to Ness.
Bedroom. Welcome to episode 96 of Weekend Warriors. This time, however, instead of doing a Gran Turismo 1 car review, this is for a car that was last seen in Gran Turismo 2. I'll bet most of you are questioning why I'm doing this when Micah's already doing a bunch of GT2 cars. Well, I placed my full explanation in the comment below because it'll take up half the video if I explain it here. But to give you the Norm's Notes version, I'm doing 4 of the 6 prize cars you get for golding all the tests in a specific license. The 2 cars I won't be doing are the Mugen S2000, which is technically a different year, but still the same essential car as the newer games, and of course, the Toyota GT1 race car. As of right now, we have this, the Dodge Copperhead, known in-game as the concept car. It's funny how I'm reviewing the Copperhead back-to-back in different games, as my last car review was for the LM version in Gran Turismo 1, but I assure you that was entirely coincidental. Now, I already mentioned what this car basically is, so I'll just borrow the audio from that. This was originally called the Copperhead. It's a concept car, that was originally made to be Dodge's entry-level sports car, like a slower, more attainable version of the Dodge Viper. So, these reviews are going to be arguably more critical than in Gran Turismo 1, because of the fact that you have to gold the licenses just to get them. As a reminder, these tests can be absolutely brutal, requiring very high knowledge of the track and car to earn the fastest lap time. This Copperhead, for example, is won by completing all the A license tests, and I hated the Altezza challenges there. So the question here is it worth going through all the pain to get this car? For collectors, that is an obvious yes, but is it actually worth using in career events? Well, let's see what we have here. The engine is a 2.7 liter inline 6 that produces 217 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque stock. Doesn't sound very dodgy, but again, this is an entry-level sports car. Generally, however, if a car has modest power, then that means it's going to be very light, and this car delivers on that front, with 980 kilograms on offer. So, while the horsepower per ton isn't that much higher than the already low power that it got, 221 to be exact, it could mean that this can be very good around corners. And it does. With stock settings, this car is a hoot to drive. It's not too squirrely like an Elise, but not as understeering as an Aston. So, kind of like the Copperhead LM from the last game. Appropriate given how great of a car the Viper already is in Gran Turismo. However, NTSC players get it bugged. Just like the Copperhead LM in this game, this has been engined into our version of the game instead of front-engined. I'd imagine it feels exactly the same as the PAL and Japanese versions, so its only real difference is you get this to compete in the MR events and not the FR ones. But now, we get into sketchy territory. Because that all sounds well and good in and of itself, but once again, this is a very hard car to attain by golding A license. 2 interesting things to hear is, this is the only one of the 4 I'm reviewing that isn't a race car, so of course you can apply tuning to this and make it faster, but also, this is a prize car for golding all the tests in a license in Gran Turismo 1 as well, B license in particular. This is the only car in the entire series as far as I can remember that it's exclusively a prize car for golding a license test in all appearances is in. Multiple games to be exact, as there are other cars such as the Ford Model T and Nissan GTR safety car that was prize cars in their respective games. This puts it at an interesting comparison to the original Gran Turismo 1 version of the car. That version is more exclusive for sure, as there are only 3 licenses to obtain in that game, which made each prize car stand out more in a game already with less than 150 cars. That said, however, I must admit that apart from the collector's appeal, which is very high in the case of this car, the Copperhead wasn't a good car in Gran Turismo 1. Fully tuned, you're still looking at less horsepower than the average top tier JDM car stock of 276. It's not fast enough to compete in the vast majority of events and lacks the versatility as a result. Yes, it was technically free, but the Nismo 400R you get for winning the IA license is arguably just as difficult to obtain as this car, and it's much, much better. One of the all-around best cars in the game, I might add, especially for speedrunning. So that places it in an interesting position in Gran Turismo 2 compared to the original. If it had the same tuning capabilities, then it could come across as just another collector's piece for the same Gran Turismo 1 fans and another useless car. If it's better, how much better will determine its usefulness in career mode compared to the other cars in the game. Well, I'm very happy to say that this car is worth going for, and it's much better to Gran Turismo 1's iteration. The main reason why is apparent before you even attempt to go for it. Gran Turismo 2's career mode is laid out where in the vast majority of the events, it's only restricted by horsepower and nothing else. So for example, you could pit a Subaru Forester against convertible sports cars. Since the Copperhead is already a less than a ton car, that gives it a huge advantage in a 250 to 350 horsepower range of events. Plus, the tuning capabilities is much better than before. 355 horsepower, 290 torques, and 901 kilograms. One more than the weight of the Copperhead LM in the PAL versions of Gran Turismo 1. That could have been so poetic, and I love that kind of stuff. Apply racing modifications, however, and you get 873 kilos. Regardless of what you do though, you get a very fast car for its power. In fact, it's one of the fastest cars for its power in the game. Just to get you an idea on how fast this is, I'm sure most of you are aware of this fact and how this car ties into it, but for those who don't, in the 1.0 versions of NTSC GT2, there's a bug that causes the Vector M12 LM race car to appear in the trial mountain 30 laps endurance. A 680 horsepower race car in a race that limits you to 295 horsepower. And people thought the GT40 at historical Rome was bullshit. If this car appears in the event, nearly every car you choose can't beat it at all. Keyword, nearly. What just so happens to be one of the cars that can beat the Vector M12 in this event? That's right, the Dodge Copperhead. Now, it's not easy, and I didn't beat the Vector in this race as it's still very hard and I need some practice. But it has been done before, and I plan to challenge myself to try it and beat it in the future. The point is, however, this car is incredible in the low power races, and this makes it a very worthwhile car to go through the pain of golding the tests. In fact, spoiler alert, this is in my opinion the best licensed prize car in the game. The other three cars in this series isn't bad, but this just has the sheer versatility and capabilities the others doesn't have. The Mugen Ness 2000 is easy to obtain, but it's nothing really special, as there are tons of Mugens in this game. And the GT1 is great, but the road car is better and more special. So in the end, if you had to get any one prize car for the license tests, this is the one you should go for if you intend on using it in the career events. It's an amazing car for its power, and it's very fun to drive. And yeah, that'll do for this review. It's not particularly long compared to my last review, definitely my Route 11 lap guide. But considering that I already reviewed the Copperhead LM in the previous game, and how similar this car is just in different ways, I ain't complaining. With that said, thank you for watching, and as always, this is Ness in Pajamas saying, fluffy pillows. Are you excited for Gran Turismo 7? Because I am. Oh my god, it's going to be such a good game. Trial Mountain is back in cameo mode, looks amazing, and immediately afterwards we were shown